Your phone says you have 500 friends, maybe more. You can see all of them anytime you want, a scroll of faces you've collected over years. And yet there's a decent chance that right now, if something genuinely went wrong in your life, you'd struggle to think of 3 people you could actually call. Not text, call, at a bad hour, without feeling like you were imposing. That gap between the number on the screen and the number you can really reach isn't a personal failing. It isn't you being bad at friendship. There's a specific number behind it, discovered by accident, and once you know it, the strange loneliness of modern life starts to make a lot more sense. In the early 1990s, a British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar was studying monkeys. Specifically, he was looking at how much time primates spend grooming each other, picking through fur, the social glue of a monkey troop. And he noticed something. The bigger a primate's social group, the bigger its brain. Not the body, the brain. Specifically, a part called the neocortex, the region tied to thinking and social reasoning. So Dunbar did something simple and a little bit audacious. He took that relationship between brain size and group size across dozens of primate species, and he plugged in the human brain. He wanted to know, based on the size of our neocortex, how many relationships are we actually built to maintain? The number that came out was about 150. 150. That's it. That's roughly the number of stable, meaningful relationships the average human brain can hold at once. It even has a name now, Dunbar's number. And here's the part that makes it feel less like a lab statistic and more like a law of nature. When Dunbar and others went looking, that number kept showing up. The average size of a hunter-gatherer community, around 150. The number of people in a typical village in the Domesday Book, England, 900 years ago. Around 150. The basic fighting unit of the Roman army. The size a company in a modern military tends to settle at before it needs to split. The number of people some companies find they can run on trust and hallway conversations before they're forced to bring in formal management, again and again. 150, but the number itself isn't really the interesting part. The interesting part is what's inside it, because those 150 relationships aren't all equal. Dunbar found the number is layered like rings. At the very center, most people have about 5. 5 people who are your closest, your inner core, the ones you'd drop everything for. Around that, a layer of about 15. Good friends, the people you'd invite to something small and personal. Then a layer of around 50. Friends, but the kind you'd see at a bigger gathering, not the ones you call at 2 a.m. And then the outer ring, the full 150. The people you know and keep up with and would happily catch up with, but who live at the edge of your real social world. And each ring costs something. Not money, time, attention, actual effortful contact. Dunbar's research suggests relationships decay without it. A close friend you stop seeing doesn't stay a close friend in some frozen state. They slowly drift outward, ring by ring, until one day they're just someone you used to know. Friendship, it turns out, isn't a thing you have. It's a thing you keep doing. Now, there's a second half to Dunbar's work, and it answers a question you might not have thought to ask. If holding a group together takes all this grooming, all this physical, one-on-one contact, then how did humans ever get past the size of a monkey troop at all? A monkey can only groom so many others in a day. There aren't enough hours. By rights, our groups should have stayed small. Dunbar's answer is one of the boldest ideas in anthropology. He thinks this is why we talk. Language, he argues, evolved as a kind of grooming at a distance. Instead of picking through one person's fur at a time, you could suddenly reach several people at once with your voice. And the thing our ancestors mostly used that voice for wasn't hunting tips or tool instructions. It was each other. It was, to put it bluntly, gossip. Talking about who did what, who could be trusted, who wronged whom. Social information. Dunbar's studies of everyday human conversation found that the overwhelming majority of it, roughly 2/3, is exactly this. People, relationships, social lives. We think of gossip as a vice. It may be the very thing that let human society outgrow the ape troop in the first place. So sit with that for a second. The reason you can have 150 relationships instead of 50 is that somewhere deep in our history, talking about each other became our way of holding a bigger group together. Words replaced fingers in the fur. That's the machinery. And it worked for tens of thousands of years at roughly that scale. Now hold that whole picture in your head and look at your phone. Social media didn't raise your limit. This is the trap. It feels like it should. 500 friends, 1,000 followers, it feels like your social world got bigger. But your neocortex didn't get bigger. The 150 didn't move. What actually happened is subtler and stranger. All those extra people didn't expand your circle. They flooded it. Your brain is still only built to truly track 150, but now it's being asked to sort through 500, 1,000, 10,000 faces, most of them people you'll never groom, never call, never sit in a room with. And the time you have for real connection, the currency that actually holds the inner rings together, gets sprayed thin across all of them. You spend 20 minutes watching the life of someone you met once at a party in 2016, and that's 20 minutes you didn't spend on one of your 5. The people at your core get the same distracted, scrolling attention as the strangers at your edge. Everyone becomes a little bit of a stranger. Even the gossip broke. That ancient system for tracking who's trustworthy, who's close, who owes what to whom. It was built for a group of people you'd actually meet. Now it runs at the scale of the entire internet, on people you'll never share a room with. And instead of binding a community together, it just leaves you exhausted and vaguely anxious. Tracking the lives of hundreds of near strangers, your brain keeps insisting must matter. Because some old circuit can't tell the difference between a face on a screen and a member of your tribe. There's a simple phrase for part of what happens next. It's the feeling of being surrounded by people and connected to no one. And Dunbar's framework explains the mechanism underneath it perfectly. It's not that you have no friends, it's that your inner rings are being starved of the one thing that keeps them alive, while your outer world has swollen to a size your brain was never designed to hold. So what do you actually do with this? The uncomfortable answer sitting inside Dunbar's numbers is that connection was never about reach. It was never about how many people can see you. It's about who gets your time, on purpose. The 5, the 15. The people who, if you're honest, you've been treating with the same thumb flick of attention as everyone else. You can't fix loneliness by adding more people. That's the very thing that caused it. You fix it by subtracting your attention from the edges and spending it deliberately, unfashionably, on the center. A real conversation. A phone call at a bad hour that you pick up anyway. The unglamorous, repeated, effortful contact that a monkey picking through another monkey's fur would recognize instantly as the whole point. Your phone says you have 500 friends. Your brain, quietly, honestly, is still only holding on to about 150. And the 5 in the middle, the ones that actually decide whether your life feels full or empty, are waiting to find out which ones you'll choose to keep.